You're listening to the Content Sells podcast, the show all about how to create content to attract, convert, and keep your ideal clients. Welcome to episode 261. I'm Suzi Dafnis, and my co-host Michelle Falzon is with me. Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Hey, Suzi, I am great. It is great to be here with you today, as always. And I am really looking forward to this episode because, dear listener, we're taking you behind the scenes into how we're personally using AI right now, or some of the ways we're using it in our content marketing to save time. Because let's face it, content can be a massive time suck. Whether it's writing a sales page, mapping out a launch sequence, creating visuals for a workshop, analyzing survey results, writing emails, writing social posts, the list just goes on and on. There's always something that needs to be created, reviewed, polished, published, etc.
And, there's a lot of information out there about AI, and I'm sure as you're listening, you're like, okay, what are they going to say that's something different? Here's what we're doing. We are showing rather than telling. Today we are taking you behind the scenes and showing you what we are actually doing. So what we're sharing is by no means an exhaustive list, but it's a list that we thought you might find helpful because it is the ways that we are actually using AI to save time, and specifically on content creation. This is a Content Sells podcast. So the things we're doing behind the scenes to not only create all the content that we need efficiently, but also to maintain two things, the quality and the effectiveness of our content, which can be a big trade-off when people start using AI. And you can often tell when someone's been writing using AI, and that is far from ideal. And so we want to be able to use AI to support us with our content, but we don't want to sound like AI. So you still want to be creating content that's a high quality and that is in your voice.
I completely agree with that. And for me, I think it's much less about outsourcing all the thinking to AI and instead using AI to accelerate your thinking. And I think this is a really important distinction. I see a lot of people just outsourcing their brain almost to AI. I saw a really funny meme the other day, Suzi. It was like, in 20 years, how we'll be using AI. And it's like people can't even talk or spell anymore because they've just AI's done everything for them. They're almost just a blob, right? And we don't want to outsource all the thinking to AI. You've got brilliant ideas. You want to use AI to accelerate your thinking and then to sort of help you propagate that. So how can you magnify your own great ideas and your experience and your skills and your knowledge in a way that makes you more effective, that saves you time and that delivers the kind of impact you want? And, I tend to see tools like AI tools like ChatGPT, for example, that's a big one that most of us use, as a thought partner who is leveraging me versus something that I can outsource all the idea creation, all the thinking, and all the content writing to.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. And what we found is that when we use AI well, it's not just saving us hours and hours every week, it's helping us make bolder promises in our offices and in our offers, and creating better client experiences and getting way more mileage from the work that we are already doing. And I love what you said there about it's not outsourcing your brain. It's please create me a lead mag, create me a sales page, just outsourcing it, but using it as a partner. And that's what we're going to be showing you how we're doing that today. So we're not going to share just the tools or the trends, but how we're using AI to speed things up, but also to maintain quality and to free ourselves up to focus on the parts of our business that we love most, that allow us to be in our zones of genius.
And heck yeah, to zones of genius. And we all want that, right? Yeah. And that's the byproduct, I think, of AI. Not only the growth and the time saving that it gives you in the things it helps you make, but in the time, what we do with the time that's freed up as a result, and how we can use that to have a better life, to have a better business, to have a stronger business, to be more strategic, to make that really big strategic alliance that brings in all those clients for us. So in this episode, we're going to walk you through 6 ways AI is saving us time with our content. Like Suzi said, it's not an exhaustive list. It's the things we thought you might find interesting and helpful, including some clever ways we're using prompts and workflows, and maybe even some unexpected use cases that might surprise you. And if you're someone who's been a little hesitant to use AI in your business, or maybe you've played around with it, but you haven't quite found your groove yet, or maybe you're a super user, we're hoping in this episode there's going to be something practical that you can use, some interesting use cases that you can explore for yourself in your business.
So let's dive in with the first way that AI is saving us time, and that's when we're analyzing survey results, client data, or even when we actually don't have a survey to work with. The idea is that we're using it to analyze survey results or generate insights without a survey.
I love this one, Suzi. This has been a huge, with a capital H, time saver for me, and that's using AI to analyze survey results. And I'm really big, and I work with lots of clients on this. I'm really big on like getting that raw language from my clients' audiences. And I know, Suzi, you do that all the time with your audiences. And what that typically means is you run a survey, you get all these responses, and then you've got to analyze those responses and find the patterns, find the language, find the themes and those sorts of things. And getting your customers' language is so important. I know we're both huge fans of capturing that client language so that we can use it in our marketing, so that we can use it when we're communicating with our ideal clients. But when it came to surveys, I used to spend hours going through spreadsheets, reading every single response, combing through to identify those themes, and then doing a bunch of manual copying and pasting as I sorted and consolidated those themes, and then made a list of language that reflected those themes and those customer objections and desires and challenges, and looking for patterns and all those things that go with kind of analyzing a survey in a really deep way. And it was super manual, and it could take me hours to do this job well.
And it's sometimes really hard to see the patterns when you're in that volume of data and trying to hold it all in your brain and figure it all out manually, right?
Oh, you're so right about that, especially if the type of survey you've done has open-ended questions, which means you ask questions in the survey that aren't multiple choice. They actually ask people to enter in their own detailed responses in their own words. And we want these types of questions because those responses where people answer you in their own language are often the most valuable in terms of the insight you can get. But they're also the most time-consuming to analyze. But now I've got a prompt that I have been perfecting that I use in ChatGPT that gives me a full analysis to the level and depth that I used to do manually. And so it gives me a full breakdown of the most common challenges that come up, what people say they most want, like the top desires, what's getting in their way, the top objections, the big content themes that are happening. And it will also pull out direct quotes from the responses, the actual language that someone has used when they've responded to the survey, and organizes those language excerpts, if you like, into those various categories. So like, for example, again, it's always good to see an example. I was looking back actually at some client data that I was analyzing. I just randomly picked a survey and analyzed. And so let's say I help coaches grow their business, and I learned from the AI analysis of these survey responses that one of the big challenges is transitioning from one-to-one to group coaching. So I understand that's one of the top 5 challenges that my audience is grappling with right now. And that's incredibly useful in and of itself, right? But then in my prompt, I ask it to share examples of the raw data of each of those challenges. So it's giving me 5 challenges. An example of one is I'm struggling to transition from one-to-one, direct to one other person, to having a group coaching. So the actual language that it might give me in the analysis could include things like this. I've been a one-to-one coach for years, but I don't know how to transition. Like, that's the actual words that somebody said to me related to this theme. Or I want to create a group coaching program, but I don't know where to start. Or no one registers for my group offers. They all want one-to-one. Or what size of group makes sense? Or how do I price my group coaching? Or I'd love guidance on how to structure my group coaching sessions. Or how do I get people to sign up for my first group? I'm scaling from one-to-one to group coaching, but I don't want to lose the personal touch.
So good.
And isn't it great? And so you've got this kind of in this case, an objection, but I also do, a challenge, but I also do it with objections and desires and key themes. But you can see how asking the AI tool to not only sort of quickly spit out 5 challenges, but actually give you the raw language that it's used to assess that that is the big challenge. You can see the depth and the context that that raw language gives you. It helps you really dimensionalize this challenge in your own mind for your own understanding. And then you can use this language in your marketing copy. Like, there's tons of ideas in that little excerpt I just shared about the way you might come at addressing this challenge, about the words you might use to describe the transition or the personal touch or, knowing where to start, or some of those phrases that are in there. And it also gives you a clue as to what solving that problem would look like. Like, if I'm going to help them transition from one-to-one to group coaching, I need to cover things like the transition itself, how to get people to register for it, what size makes sense, how to price it, how to structure it, how to, not lose the personal touch. And so it just suddenly makes everything so much more valuable.
Yeah, when we listen to our clients in this way, when we can dissect that data, it gives us everything we need to say it right back to them in a way that lets them know that we can help them. And what I love about it, and the reason that we do this too with our client data, is that it just makes writing headlines, sales pages, emails, social posts, anything or anywhere that we want to speak to people, it lets them know that we understand them. It makes them feel understood. And here's the thing, even if you don't have a survey, you can still use this approach solely using AI. You can start by telling ChatGPT or whatever tool you use about your ideal client. So you want to have done that work first. Who are they? What you know about them? And then ask it to generate a list of the top 5 challenges, top 5 desires, top 5 objections of that market niche. You also ask it to give you actual real-life, raw and natural language that this person would use to talk about those things. So it's not just guessing in kind of generic marketing blah, blah speak. It's giving you actual language that sounds something like something your ideal client might say. You want to test this out. It's really quite amazing. And you've tested this against actual survey data. And Michelle, you've done that and you found it's pretty accurate in kind of coming up with its own information, right?
Yeah, it's quite amazing. I've kind of been fortunate to see this test performed in many different businesses and many different use cases and many, many times. So I'm really confident that what you can get, even if you haven't done a survey, if you know how to ask ChatGPT, along the lines of exactly what you were saying, Suzi, that what you get out of it could closely mirror what you might have got if you'd have done all the hard yards of a survey and analyzing it yourself. And I've been in situations where I've had a client who has manually extracted survey analysis, and then we've run the prompt without a survey at all. And it's surprising how similar and how accurate the output, that we're getting without even having all the survey data. Now, like I said, it does require the right prompt, and you want to make sure you're giving the best input you can about who this client is and the problem, that you're solving and the type of offer that you're delivering, so that you're giving really good context to the ChatGPT or other AI tool that you're using, because it's like all prompts, it's like all AI sort of language-based models, garbage in, garbage out. So how well you understand your ideal client, how much information and context you can give it, you'll likely get better and better results. And, when you think about how much time it takes to create the survey, send the survey, wait for people to complete the survey, and then to analyze the survey, if you have a survey that, you've been doing the traditional way, this could literally take hundreds of hours. And now you can do it in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I love it. And I know that I have done it both ways, and I trust it more when it's my own data, because I know that, these are my clients. But like you said, if you don't have that and you don't have the time to take, to do the survey and analyze the survey and spend the hundreds of hours, this is it approximates, and it gets better and better. So absolutely do it. And you can do this without having, a big email list that you would go out and survey, because if you want to do a survey, you want to have a meaningful sample size. And if you don't have a big client base, then that can be hard to do. So this can definitely help.
Yeah, I agree. And, to pick up on your point, I will still, if my client has a big list, we'll still do a survey and we'll just use AI to analyze the results. But I do think if you need something quick or you don't have the big list like you're saying, you can just ask AI to approximate what those results might be and what that language might be, because what you're tapping into is a language model that has literally billions of data points, and it is getting better and better, as you said. And I can verify that the outputs, when you don't have the actual raw survey data, are pretty great. And I would do that if you didn't have anything. And the one little counterpoint I would say to all of this is we recently had Ryan Levesque speak at our mastermind, our in-person event, the last one we ran in Sydney. And as you know, Suzi, he's like, it's great, but there's also something to be said for sort of poring over your customer language and earning and really thinking through those themes. And I think this is in general with all AI. And I just want to point this out here, but it applies to everything. It's great to save time with AI, but those outputs, you have to read them. You have to engage with them. You have to apply critical thinking to them. You have to embody them. You have to go, is this right? You have to investigate and dig deeper if you need to. Like, I see lots of people get the AI output and they just whack it up or put it on their email and send it out. And it's the same with the survey results. You want to go and verify that and dig into the raw data if you want, or you want to really look at those challenges and absorb them. Because when you take 2 hours to analyze a survey, those challenges are sort of burnt in your brain. You know it at a cellular level. There is something about that that's amazing that AI doesn't give you. So I'm just painting both sides of that picture. I love it as a first pass to give me the lay of the land, and then I will question some things. I will dig into some things. I will go back and skim through the raw data. You want to, again, what we said right at the start, don't outsource your brain to this. It's helping you to do better work.
I love it. I want to now go into another way that we're using AI to save time with our content creation, and that is having AI be a strategic planning and ideation partner. What do I mean? So using AI to brainstorm new event names, product ideas, campaign themes. We've done all of that. And when I'm mapping out, say, a retreat or planning a multi-part launch sequence, AI helps me to clarify, to refine, to pressure test ideas really quickly. And it's kind of like a sounding board. It's kind of a partner. That's how I treat it. And it's a sounding board that's always there, always available, 24/7, always answers my questions. Now, some of these ideas that come back, a lot of them, to the point Michelle was just making, they're not right, but they start the ball rolling. So I'm not working on a blank page. And from one idea that AI might give me, I will generate a bunch of other ideas. And the strategic planning, like when I'm working at that higher level, it can be hard to just start with a blank page. And so this gives me lots of iterations and lots of ideas very, very quickly.
Yeah, I love you mentioned that phrase, sounding board. Like one of the services that I provide to clients is kind of that sounding board, but I'm not available 24/7. And it's been really interesting actually seeing how my clients are using AI as exactly what you're saying, a strategic planning and ideation partner. But what's really interesting too is that I was just on a deep strategy session with a client the other day, and I first started off we were brainstorming something, and I just jumped into ChatGPT and started kind of brainstorming in there. And then I shared my screen with her, and then we were both brainstorming with each other and with ChatGPT. And it was so fun. And so it gave us like instantly 20 ideas, and then we bounced off each other and we were like, oh, these 3 are great. And then we were like, oh my gosh, what if we did that? And so it was kind of another new way that I've been using it as a strategic or ideation partner with a client, or with another team member, or whatever it might be in your situation, and bringing it in as this other entity. So I love that sort of sounding board that you mentioned. And the other thing that I know about using it as an ideation partner is the inputs you give it I know this sort of seems so obvious, right? The inputs you give it make such a difference to the outputs that you get. Garbage in, garbage out, like I said earlier. But what I want to point to here as we're getting sort of peeling back the curtain and showing what we're doing, I have found I've been getting really creative about what inputs I give it. And I'm just amazed. Like you might, for example, let's say you're in an industry where there's been a big report just issued by the government or by a big research agency or whatever. If you're trying to think through something, you could upload that report as part of the input for this process. Or let's say you ran an event and you've got the transcript from the event. You can, and that's going to be relevant to the ideation. Upload the whole transcript. Or you've got that client survey data or whatever it might be. Like you can upload giant slabs of source material that these tools can instantly assimilate. And that is where I think that a lot of the fast tracking can happen because it can instantly kind of get a lot of context, and the outputs it gives you are inside that context and they're much, much more relevant. So think about if you're using AI right now as a strategic planning or ideation partner, how might you up-level the inputs you're giving it? How might you up-level the people that you engage with in that process? Like who might you bring into that process? Like I brought my client in, or you might bring your operations person in, or your creative writer, or whatever it might be, to sort of co-create with a tool like ChatGPT. So I love that point you made, Suzi, about using AI as a strategic planning and ideation partner. Now we're going to move on to our next idea, and this one has been a real leap forward in terms of productivity for me, and it is using custom GPTs. I am obsessed with custom GPTs right now. And for those of you who haven't explored this yet and you're thinking, what is that? This is a feature inside ChatGPT where you can create your own, kind of think of it like creating your own version of the AI model. And in that little version of ChatGPT, inside of ChatGPT that's just yours, that's why they call it a custom GPT, it is a little AI model that is trained to your preferences, your style, your tasks. And all you do is fine-tune that GPT to perform whatever specific task you want that particular GPT to do. Like it might be you create a custom GPT to answer customer queries or to generate a particular piece of content or to assist with some research. And it's all based on this predefined set of data and instructions. So instead of writing a prompt every time, you kind of write this predetermined set of instructions and then you just set it to work. I absolutely love them.
Obsessed, I think the word is you used. Yeah, and we haven't created them yet. And a friend of mine is using them in an incredible way, and she's given me her workflow. I just haven't got around to it. But I have seen it in use to where, like you said, it's like, here's the template of how I want you to take this content and format it every time, and so it can generate, but it can also organize, if you like, depending on how you program it. So very, very good. We might need to do a separate episode just on that. But it's like having a team member who knows what you like, knows how you want things done, and you don't have to re-explain things every time, which, that's a way that you're not saving time, is by redoing things again and again inside ChatGPT for the same things. Like every time you need to do an email, or every time you need to format a podcast, or every time you want to write a description for that e-commerce page, whatever it is, like that is not saving you time. You can really leverage your time by using these custom GPTs that Michelle's talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that sort of analogy of it's like a team member who already knows how you like things done. And again, it's available 24/7. It doesn't get cranky. It doesn't need to take meal breaks. And for those tasks that you do on a regular basis, custom GPTs are a dream. So, for example, I've created custom GPTs to write the podcast show notes for this show. So I input our script or transcript, and I've already taught this custom GPT exactly how I want the show notes to be, the format, the style, the tone, even down to how I like the bullet points to be created. So there's kind of several types of bullet points that I like to be featured, some that induce curiosity, some that are educational, some that are desire-inducing. And I've taught it all the things I know about writing a good bullet. And I only had to do that once. So other things I've got custom GPTs for, and you create one little custom GPT for each of these discrete tasks, is to write promotional social posts for new episodes. In another thing is in the mastermind group that Suzi and I run together, the Her Business Marketing Success Mastermind, one of the things we provide is an online community where our masterminders can ask us any question they want, anytime they want. If they've got a new sales page they want us to review, a new email sequence, they're thinking about adding a new product, they've got a challenge, they can't understand why a page isn't converting or whatever it is, they can ask those questions. And one way that we give them a feedback, especially if it's really like analyzing a sales page or something that requires deep, thoughtful feedback, is to make a screen recorded video. So oftentimes I'll get in, I'll get their page up on the screen, I'll show them the things that I'm giving them feedback on. And what I was doing was just popping a link to that video in the response to their question, which is great. People love them. But you had to watch the whole video to get the feedback. And so I thought, I can use a custom GPT. I could just take the transcript of that video, whack it into this custom GPT that I've taught exactly how I want the summary to be done, the tone, all of those things, down to like the last sentence I want to be an encouragement to that person. And it will summarize everything I've said into categories. Like first off, it tells them the main themes and ideas, then it gives them the action steps and it lists those out. And then I just copy and paste that in when I post the link to the video. And it adds about, I would say realistically, it adds about 30 seconds to my process. But the value it delivers to our masterminders is massive. And it's just a custom GPT that I created. So the other kinds of things I'm using it for is how I like campaign report data visualized. So I'm often working with my clients looking at, how are our ads converting? What are the particular client segments that are landing on this page and converting and at what ratio? And, what are our conversion rates and what are our sales numbers and things like that. And so I'm often getting these campaign sort of data, and I just pop the campaign data into my custom GPT, and it already knows how I want that data visualized. So I want certain things as pie charts. I want certain things as tables. Even like with the pie chart, I want the labels outside the pie chart. I want the percentages inside the pie chart. And I only ever had to say that once. So all I do is upload the data in a CSV format into this custom GPT I've created. And literally that's it. I click on the custom GPT I've created in my ChatGPT account. I click on it and I paste the data. I'm not entering any more prompts. I'm not doing anything else. I just paste the data and I click the go button, and it then does, based on the historical tips and preferences I've given it, it does the thing. It is so freaking good. I love them so much. And it does this every time without me having to write a single new prompt. It already knows. And I can continue training it as well. Like if I'm thinking, it's doing this, and it's putting the Z instead of the S in the spelling of these words. And so then I can say, hey, this is all really great. Next time and forevermore, can you please use Australian spelling, not American spelling? And now I never have to tell it that again. And it's incorporated that into its learning. And there's no coding. I'm just typing in words in my own language.
Absolutely. And, to the point that you just said, you can include those instructions, like always write in Australian spelling, or always write in a friendly but professional tone, or always give me dot points, not whole paragraphs. Or one of the things that it often does is it'll give you like a headline and then a whole lot of copy. It's like, oh, no, I just want the bullets, or whatever it is. You can train it, obviously.
Yeah, and it's so easy to train. You don't need to know any special coding language, which I just love so much. And so once it's set up, it remembers all of that. So you're not constantly reprompting. You just open your custom GPT and go. So you can really use a custom GPT for any task in your business. You're not you're only limited by your imagination. And you can even give them to clients as a value add. Like you mentioned, your friend shared her custom GPTs with you. And I've got a friend who's sharing her custom GPTs with her clients as a value add. So like if I had podcast clients, for example, I could give them my custom GPT to do the show notes, for example. So maybe you've got something that you're doing that would be valuable as a bonus or a little extra gift to your client base.
Very, very good. All righty. Very exciting. So, yeah, we do a whole episode on that. So, if you're thinking, I'm not technical, I could never set that up, I don't have a Michelle brain, I totally get it. The good news is you don't have to know how to code. There is actually a simple wizard inside of ChatGPT that you just answer a few questions about what you want the GPT to do, and it'll build it for you. So if you just head into ChatGPT, and we're using that example because that's the tool most people are sort of playing with, and you look for Explore GPTs in the navigation link, it'll literally walk you through the whole process. It's super easy, very powerful for saving you so much time. Like you can hear in what Michelle shared, every time there's a podcast, or every time she needs to create visuals from data, etc., it's already in there and it spits it out so quickly. Like there's almost no thinking time. Well, I guess because there is no thinking time. Alrighty. Number 3, using AI as a content creation assistant. So whether I'm looking to write podcast titles and show notes or to refine sales page headlines, something I spend probably an inordinate amount of time doing, or editing email copy or developing Instagram captions, I use AI to just beef up the messages, to make them more compelling, more succinct, more aligned with my audience of women business owners. Now, we have a wonderful copywriter on our team. So the good stuff that we write is the stuff that she is doing, right? A real human, fabulous copywriter. But sometimes we need to supplement her writing. And AI is a great one to get a rough draft, and then we can improve the tone, the language, the clarity, the examples, the stories, etc. So, for example, I had to recently go through a long sales page, like a 25-page, deep sales page. And I put it into AI and I said, can you spin the copy up a few ways? Because I want to use it in emails and socials, but I don't want to use it that way. This is what I want the emails to have. I want an intro copy, I want an outro copy, I want 6 bullet points, I want whatever it was. I gave it the prompts. And while that draft is still going to be finessed, so that it doesn't sound like AI, it was able to categorize the copy, map it across to the objections and challenges that I had fed in from our client data, and also from the history, because it learns once it's working with you. So it's also great for refining things and editing things. And when I'm stressed or under pressure, my writing can get a little kind of staccato. It can lack the personal tone that you would get if you were speaking with me in person. And that's when I tap into AI and have it tweak copy, make it more personable, make it less corporate, make it more human, more strategic. It helps me do that and do that quickly. And so it's like having this 24/7 editor and content strategist and marketing copywriter all rolled into one, available all the time.
And I love, though, how you are still the center of that, like you're still the brain driving that. You're still the human beating heart assessing whether that feels like the kind of language you'd use and things like that. So I love hearing how you're using that. The other thing that I really picked up on what you said was the first draft idea, because sometimes, that blank page just stares back at you. And it's like, and maybe you've had this situation too, Suzi, where I think I'm going to get AI to help me write this email sequence. And I go in and I put some, things in that I want to get it started, and it spits something out. And it's so wrong. But in the process of just like engaging with AI, I've got 10 ideas in my head, and then I go off and write the email anyway. None of it was written by AI, but it got me started. Do you find that?
Yeah, absolutely. Often it's terrible. And, that might be the prompt, that might be not enough context, or, it could be a number of things, but it's gotten me moving. Yeah.
I love it. So I want to now move on to the fourth way that AI is saving us time with our content. And this might be one of those things we mentioned at the start of the show, that maybe there's some things in here that will be surprising. And this might be one of them, because we wanted to share a lot of the meat and potatoes of what we're doing, but also a couple of the more obscure things that we're doing that maybe you haven't thought about yet. And this is one of those. And this is about making bolder promises in our offers because we can deliver the transformation faster with AI. Now, stick with me on this, I'll explain. One of the unexpected ways AI has helped us save time and actually improve our programs and our deliverabilities is by enabling us to make bolder promises in our offers about what we will help people achieve.
Secret sauce, this one. And an interesting shift, because if you think about it, one of the big reasons we sometimes hold back from making stronger promises is the fear that we won't actually be able to deliver on them, or that it's going to take us too much time or require too much support.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why we don't lean into really putting out a message where somebody goes, holy cow, you can do that for me in this much time or for that much money. That's what's going to get people's attention, because when you can make a bold promise, you can really stand out in the market. So how can you use AI to help you with this? And this saves all kinds of time, right? It saves marketing time. It saves the time of having to, chase your tail trying to get clients when you can more easily convert people into your products and services. And then it's saving time in the delivery and it's saving time for your clients. So there's this fantastic time saving thing all round, win, 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 win. And it's getting you out into the market with a much clearer, bolder, a cut above the competition type of promise. So one way is to think about how you can use AI to help people move faster through your processes. So if you sell something where you teach people how to do something, or you coach them, or you provide a done with you type of service, or maybe a done for you service, you have a real opportunity to confidently promise bigger outcomes in shorter timeframes and, here's the important part, actually deliver on those promises. So a great example of this was in our recent Advanced Offer Creation 2-day intensive that Suzi and I ran just very recently. And we made a big promise in our marketing for that event. We said in just 2 days, you will walk away with your high converting offer fully fleshed out, a compelling name and brand, all the inclusions clearly defined, all your benefit-based descriptions written up, all your high converting bonuses decided on, and creative, compelling copy written about those, aligned pricing, how to think about all your contrast pricing that makes your pricing seem incredibly valuable, all your risk reversal thought about and written out, like will you offer a guarantee, will you offer a warranty, how will you help people kind of reduce risk, and all the language to talk confidently about their offer. And that is a lot of stuff to promise that you can deliver in just 2 days. And think about a 2-day event. You've got the intro, you've got breaks, you've got, just time that sort of slips in those 2 days. And you might only end up with, 4 to 6 hours of actual time in those events. It's work time. And then you've got to teach and they've got to do in that time. So it's a challenge to deliver that much value. But we were able to back up that promise by giving participants optional AI prompts that we provided to them at every stage in creating their high converting offer. So for each part of their offer, we gave them a ready to go prompt where they just had to drop in their unique details, copy it into whatever AI tool they were using, and boom, they'd get a really solid first draft to work with.
Yeah, and there's that word again, and it just moved people so quickly. It's such a great support, especially when people can feel overwhelmed trying to come up with everything from scratch, especially if they're doing something for the first time. And it helped participants move so much faster. It had them feel more confident that they were going to be actually able to do this in the time that we have. And from our side, it meant we could offer more value in less time without having to stretch the event out or to hire a team of copywriters to get the job done.
Yeah, and so we could confidently make this promise that seemed almost audacious, knowing that we could deliver on it. And for example, let's say we just taught them about what makes a great bonus and we gave them a structure for how to present that bonus in their copywriting and in their sales conversations. And then they had the choice. In the work session, they could slug that out and try and name the bonus and describe it and come up with benefit-oriented bullet points. Or they could just copy this prompt we gave them, paste it into their tool with whatever unique information and inputs they had about their client and their offer, etc. And it would spit out, based on our best practices for how to communicate about your bonus, it would spit out the bonus, a really fabulous conversion-oriented bonus name. It would spit out a description of that bonus. It would really hone in on the benefits of that bonus. And like literally in 10 minutes, they could do the work that might take them 2 hours to do on their own. And this is how you get this acceleration of deliverabilities. And we know from talking to our community and from what I'm seeing is working with my many clients is that right now, people don't want more education. They don't want more frameworks. They don't want more stuff. They are craving the outcome. Mm-hmm. They're craving more done for you and done with you support. They want ease. They want clarity. They want results faster. They want tangible output. They don't want to come to a 2-day event with us and to learn the concept of creating a high converting offer. What they want is to come and spend 2 days with us and get all the valuable conceptual and strategic stuff from us and walk away with their offer done, because nobody's got time to then go and implement that later. And this is how you can really define your value and stand head and shoulders above the rest. And AI is helping us meet that demand without burning ourselves out either. And that is a win for everybody.
And so if you're listening and you've got an offer where you're delivering content, training, coaching, maybe there's an opportunity to boldly raise the bar on what you promise, knowing that AI can help your clients get there faster, just like we did at that 2-day workshop. So ask yourself, what would I promise if I knew I could help people move through my process faster and with less friction? It's a really exciting shift and one that's only going to become more valuable as expectations around ease and speed continue to rise. And I love what you were saying there, Michelle, about what people want. They want to implement. Like if we had left those women hanging, it's like, bye, you've got the concepts, go create your high converting offer. As much as they wanted to, they would get caught up in life and business and kids and responsibilities and wouldn't get the results, the amazing transformation that we have seen by having AI support the process. Alrighty, I want to share the 5th way. We've got 6 ways. We're up to number 5. And this is how we're saving time using AI for content creation. This is a short one, but an important one. And it is workshop and event development. We've just been talking about one of our events. So I co-create with AI session structures, outlines of workshops, exercises for live events or retreats or workshops. So I might come up with an idea for an exercise that I want to do and the outcome that I want. I will let AI know who the client is, what the event is, what the outcomes I want are, what outcomes I want them to have. And I might ask AI to help me craft that exercise, help me suggest images for slide decks or an outline for a worksheet. And then I might have it give me the first draft of the worksheet. Again, it saves so much time. And then I might jump into Canva and I'll take the ideas that AI has for images for the slide deck and I'll search the terms that AI, like, because it might say, picture of a woman on the beach wearing a hat. I don't know, just a random example. And so I'll go into Canva and I'll go, give me a picture of a woman on the beach wearing a hat. Now, is that thinking I could have done? Yes, but it's just saved me so much time because it has the context of what I'm trying to create. And I'm off to the races.
I love that. And it's just having what you need right when you need it. You don't have to go out of flow and you don't have to, search through a library and, we can lose momentum. And that is such a time-saving thing in every part of content creation, and especially like you're saying in workshop and event development where it can be such a big commitment of time. I absolutely love that. And you sort of touched on visuals there, and that leads nicely into our 6th way that we're using AI to save us time with our content, and that is using AI to help us create visual models and frameworks. And this is one of the newer and I think really exciting ways that AI is enabling us to save time. And creating visual models and frameworks has typically, been a bit of a time suck. And this one has felt like a real breakthrough as I've been using this more and more. Because in the past, if I had an idea for a framework, like a 3-part model or a process diagram or some sort of journey that I wanted to visually map out, I'd either have to sketch it out myself, like on my iPad, and then, try and explain that to a designer, or I'd head into Canva and, try and piece it together myself and spend 20 minutes looking for a template that maybe I could sort of co-opt, or go straight ahead and brief a designer and wait a few days to get something back. And then, you get something back from the designer and you're back and forth tweaking it because that wasn't quite what I meant, or can we make that bigger or smaller or whatever. We've all played that dance, I'm sure. But now with the new image creation features built into tools like ChatGPT or Midjourney or DALL-E or even Canva, I can literally just describe what I want, and within seconds it gives me a visual I can use straight away. And it's not just photos. Like, Suzi gave that great example of the woman with the hat. It is like entire frameworks. Like I can say, I want a visual of a woman running on a hamster wheel with these 5 words around the outside of the hamster wheel. Or I want a Venn diagram with these 3 things in the 3 main circles. And in the left part where it crosses over, I want it to say this. And in the right part where it crosses over, I want it to say this. And it will give you these diagrams. And I mean, I'm amazed with what I'm getting out of these tools.
Oh, well, I'm amazed that you're getting
It's incredible.
stuff. That's great.
Yeah, and I must say, 3 months ago, it was crap. But there have been so many up-levelings, and this is just going to continue to be exponentially so. So if you did dig into tools like Midjourney and ChatGPT, well, ChatGPT's only recently got some good visual capabilities, but some of these others before, and you ended up with a person with like 7 fingers and 3 legs, like it was doing all these weird things, or the framework had all this gobbledygook language in it. Like it's completely next leveled itself. Like I recently created a diagram of a content creation workflow that I was mapping for a client, and I did it right there in ChatGPT with a simple prompt. And these are not just pretty pictures; they're actually helping to communicate quite complex ideas more clearly. They're perfect for, like you said, workshops and presentations, but also for social posts and sales pages, anywhere that you need to convey your intellectual property or guide someone through a process. You could use it in a proposal, for example, if you wanted to spell out the steps that, once you sign the proposal, step 1 is we'll do this, step 2 is we'll do this, step 3 is we'll do that. You can do all of that now in these tools pretty successfully and quickly. And because I can generate them so quickly, I'm actually using visuals more often, which is great for engagement and for memory. And even if they're not the final output, sometimes the wording still gets a bit funky. They are awesome to then get a designer to recreate, because you've carried the ball so far down the field in that sort of quick back and forth thought partnership we've been talking about, that you can pretty quickly accelerate then what the designer does with it.
Absolutely. And, we've used this, as you know, like to come up with logo ideas. And it was a point in time when we were super busy and our designer was caught up with another project. And so I said to AI, here's the brief, here's the ideal client, here's the colours we're thinking of, give me something, give me a few things. And there was enough in there for us to then be able to get the designer to go, okay, great, now I have some inspiration, I know what you're after, I'm going to go away and do that. And so if you're listening and you've been sitting on a great framework idea, a model that you might use a process that you use with your clients, but you haven't yet had time to bring it to life visually, you're not even sure how to approach that, this is such a great way to do that. And not only saves time creating these visuals this way, but if you're using them to brief a designer like I did, it saves time in your briefing. Like, again, this is like first draft. It should just be called first draft. First draft, last draft, I don't know. But it just gives you something that they can work with. And that can be, these are the font styles I want, or I want to include an image like this, or the color palette. And it can build, right? Because it remembers things. And so once you start to build these little banks of your frameworks and your media assets, it will just get better and better. And as I said, it not only saves time, It saves time with your designer. It gives you more for fewer dollars, especially if you are paying for a designer. And once you've got that visual, you can use it again and again. You can use it to teach, to sell, to position your expertise, etc., etc. So I love that example, and I'm so glad to hear, Michelle, because haven't had it do anything with people in it for a long time. Not like real human-looking people, more logos and that sort of thing, or images that are not meant to look real, like they're cartoons or a particular kind of visual. So yeah, so that's encouraging. Alrighty. I hope you got a bunch of ideas about how you might use some of the strategies that we are currently using to save more time in your business using AI. We gave you 6 ways that AI is saving us time with our content. And quick recap is the first was analyzing survey results or generating insights without doing a survey. Number 2 was strategic planning and ideation partner. Great way to use AI. Number 3 is a content creation assistant. Number 4, making bolder promises in our office because we can deliver faster. And we gave you the example of the 2-day workshop that Michelle and I just did. Then for workshop and event development, and whether that is actually the curriculum or whether it's the materials that go with that. And number 6, creating visual models and frameworks. Now, of course, this is not all the things that we're doing, but we wanted to give you a good sampling and some things that you could start to use and think about. And while AI is an amazing tool, for me, and to what Michelle was saying earlier, it's not about replacing your brain or human connection or creativity. It's about actually amplifying these things. And so I am always on the lookout for how it can give me time back. It can speed things up. It can provide clarity and flexibility to serve my community better and to give me that time back to focus on the work that only I can do as a human, Michelle.
And what a marvelous human you are.
Human.
And I love what you're saying there, because you've got unique gifts and talents to bring to the world. You've got a unique perspective on the world. And it makes me sad when I see people using AI in a way that doesn't bring those gifts and talents that they have forward into the world. And I hope, as you've been listening to us, you've seen how we've started to. It's like Suzi and Michelle faster, and able to kind of leap tall buildings in a single bound. It's like it helps us put our capes on, I think, and that's the way you want to be using AI. And really, we are just seeing the start of the capabilities of AI for time saving, and we are moving into an era of a more agentic AI. And maybe you've been hearing about agentic AI, where tools can actually become agents for us, operating autonomously in the world, making decisions and performing tasks without constant human intervention, doing things like actually building our website and, logging into apps and performing tasks and booking our airfares and all of those things. It's a brave new world, and it's going to bring up all sorts of challenges, all sorts of opportunities, all sorts of questions about privacy and all of those things. And it's an interesting journey. So we will look back on this episode and think how quaint we were using custom GPTs,
Wasn't that sweet, what they were doing?
But this is where we are right now, and you want to get into it. If you haven't already, you can have AI with heart. You can keep your own voice. You can have something new and interesting and unique to say to the world. It can help you deliver better products and services and save you time.
Absolutely. So there's our 6 ways that AI is saving us time with our content. I want to share with you how you can get the show notes from today's episode. But first, I want to say something. I want to say that we love doing this show. We love sharing these tips with business owners. We would love it if you would leave us a review or a rating for this episode or any episode of the show. We have over 100 5-star reviews, and we want to thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, if you would leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere you can, that would be terrific. We would love that. One person who left us a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts is Emily Jane Seraph. She goes by the brand artist, and you'll find her on Instagram at Empower with M for Emily. And her taglines are, "You are the brand, you are the art, and your embodiment is the magnet. I help you tap into that." Gorgeous. Emily. And here's what she said. She said, I love that this podcast focuses on conversion. Whereas so many content creation gurus might focus on virality, this is what really matters in the industry, especially if you're a service provider. There's such a great range of topics. No matter what industry or stage of business you're in, you'll find strategies and tips that suit your needs. I can't even recommend a single episode. Just scroll through and you'll definitely find one and think, yep, I need that right now. So beautifully said. And Emily is in the United States. Thank you so much, Emily, for listening and for that beautiful review. Now, anything that we mentioned here on the show, any resources we think would be useful or good companions for this episode, you will find over on our show notes page at herbusiness.com // AI saves time. I'll say that again, herbusiness.com / AI saves time. All one word. That'll take you to our show notes page. Michelle, it's been a big episode. Anything you want to say before we go?
We did have a lot to say about this, and I feel we've only scratched the surface, so there might be more coming. I want to say, pick one thing today. One thing you're going to do that's new that you haven't done before, or maybe something you've been doing with AI, but you can see how you can do it differently or better or make a tweak. So just start with picking one thing. We would love to see how you are saving your time, and we'd love to help you save more time and to bring more of your gifts to the world. And please tell us, what are you doing to save time with AI? You can let us know over in our podcast page. Just search inside of Facebook, just search on Content Sells Podcast. And we're always listening for new ideas.
And so we thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time right here on the Content Sells Podcast. Bye for now.